100 lorries a day. That's how much rubbish Scotland is expected to truck to England at the end of the year when a ban on the use of landfill for household rubbish comes into being. The Scottish Government hopes instead to recycle more waste and burn the rest. But a shortfall in incinerator facilities means some will have to be dealt with by going down south. Well, Gillian Martin is the Cabinet Secretary for Climate Action and Energy. Good morning to you, Minister. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
How much waste do you estimate will have to be sent to England for incineration or landfill, and for how long?
So when the landfill ban comes into force at the end of this year, there will be a short-term incineration capacity gap, and that has been assessed by Zero Waste Scotland. It is temporary. It's been assessed further by Zero Waste Scotland. They're doing a landfill capacity assessment, so they're reporting to me this month. And I'm also meeting with the waste industry representatives because they've asked to work with government on minimising this gap. So the estimate by Zero Waste Scotland is around 600,000 tonnes, but we already have a situation in Scotland where we are exporting about 15% of our waste already. We want to minimise that. The best way to minimise that is actually to reduce the amount of waste in general. We actually don't want to be actually dealing with waste. We want to be minimising the amount of waste, and we've got various strategies in place to do that.
And that makes perfect sense. But why would you introduce a landfill ban when you know that you don't have the capacity to deal with the rubbish that would usually go into landfill in our own incinerator sites?
So the landfill ban has been proposed over a decade ago, and actually and
it was delayed before. Why not delay it again?
So, well, because the emissions associated with landfill are far more noxious than anything else. It's methane that they produce, and that is in short and medium term the gas that warms up the planet. So it is best to be, and also prompting people to do different things with their waste. We've actually had local authorities have been supported in anticipation of the landfill ban coming into force. We've been supporting them with the Recycling Improvement Fund, and the vast majority of local authorities have already got alternative measures in place ahead of the ban coming into force. Now, the reason for the incineration gap is due to other outside factors, particularly inflation and the cost of actually building them. But we have got plans already in the planning process for more incinerators to come, waste-to-energy incineration schemes to come in place within the next year and over the next 3 years. So it is a temporary situation. It's a temporary situation, though, that we can't roll back on.
But have you estimated the amount of emissions that will be generated by taking 80 to 100 lorries a day for possibly up to 2 or 3 years down to England? And have you estimated the emissions that will be created when you put it into landfill there? Will it all go to landfill there, or will it be incinerated there?
So it'll be a mixture of the two things. As I said, Zero Waste Scotland's reporting on the capacity gap. They're also working with SEPA as well. And they've got a register of all the waste carriers, so also they'll know the types of vehicles that are involved as well. But the positive environmental impact of stopping landfill far outweighs any impact of any temporary measures to export this residual waste.
You're not stopping it, you're exporting it.
Well, what I'm saying, Laura, is that landfill produces methane, which is a particularly potent gas. So we have to stop.
And that will be created in England rather than in Scotland.
Well, this is a temporary measure. Some of them will be going to incineration. In England, we're not the only country that has waste-to-energy plants. North of England has many as well. But it's a very short-term measure until more of our incinerators and waste-to-energy plants come on stream.
How short-term?
So I don't want to.
How long do you think this will last?
Within the next couple of years. So what I don't want to do is roll back on anything in the landfill ban. A landfill ban is a good thing in terms of reducing emissions, particularly potent methane emissions, which are vastly responsible in the short and medium term to warming up the planet. But it's also going to incentivise businesses. We've already got a lot of anaerobic digestion businesses set up in Scotland, which are taking a lot of our food and organic waste. We're looking at our circular economy strategy in order to reduce household waste. Household waste accounts for 66% of all waste in Scotland.
Less than 50% of it, and less than 50% 4% of it in Scotland is being recycled. I think it's 48%. That's up it's only up a couple of percentage points in the last decade. Recycling rates in Wales are sitting at 65%. Why not copy what Wales are doing here?
Absolutely. I work with the Welsh Government all the time. The Welsh recycling rates are the best in Europe, and I work very, very closely with the Deputy First Minister in Wales, who's responsible for that, and learning from them. But what I would say is that our overall recycling rates are the highest since records began. They're 62.3%. But as you rightly point out, the majority, the most stubborn and the highest amount of waste comes from our households, 66%. So that is where the changes need to come. So a lot of that is going to be done as part of our circular economy route map and our circular economy strategy, which is working with local authorities. But one of the big interventions that will make a big difference is the extended producer liability. Extended producer responsibility, which will come in force this year, where we'll have the polluter pays principle. So there'll be more funding being given to local authorities, and there will be more innovation in the amount of waste that's created through packaging. So a combination of those measures will allow more local authorities to do more in the household space, particularly in working with all the people in the local authorities.
You mentioned this landfill ban has been in the offing for the last 10 years, and we're still sitting at around 20% recycling for food waste. So they haven't managed to sort this issue out on their own for this length of time. What makes you think they can deal with this soon enough to stop you sending 80 to 100 truckloads of waste to England a day over the next 2 to 3 years?
Because as part of the Circular Economy Act, we've put in place the route map, and we're now working with local authorities. All local authorities are now working together rather than in their own silos to look at best practice and to share best practice, because they know that they have to improve their recycling rates. But of course, the main way that we can improve our recycling rates is actually working with householders. We overconsume as a society, we overpurchase. We need to look at ways in which we use our items for longer, and we don't buy more food than we actually will eat throughout a week. And that's for local authorities to be working with householders. And I think that the appetite is there from the general public. They want to be reducing their waste. They just need the tools to know how to do that.
The First Minister is to give a speech in Edinburgh tomorrow to make the case that independence is the key to achieving Scotland's goals for the middle of the century. Are you clear how he plans to achieve independence? I wonder if you could lay out his vision for us.
Well, the First Minister will lay out his vision, and what I would say is that independence for Scotland is the right thing for Scotland. It means that we can...
but just in a couple of sentences, just lay out how the current government plans to achieve independence.
Scottish independence will happen when the majority of people in Scotland want it, and only with a vote for the SNP will that be achieved. The SNP is the vehicle for independence, and the more people that vote for us in the next parliamentary elections, if it's overwhelming, then there is a case for independence. That's the political argument, but just actually doing it, how do you plan to achieve it? That's what I just wondered if you could lay out that for us. It is an untenable situation for the UK government to deny democracy to the people of Scotland. If they vote for independence, promoting parties, then there has to be a rethink. It is an undemocratic situation if they don't do that.
The Prime Minister told us last week that Mr Swinney hadn't broached the subject with him, so if he hasn't asked, how does he expect to achieve?
Well, I would imagine that the First Minister has broached that subject with the Prime Minister.
For the moment, thank you very much indeed. We'll have to leave it there. Gillian Martin, the Cabinet Secretary for Climate Action and Energy.